Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into one of the most exciting evolutions in recent software history, Google Antigravity. We're going to trace exactly how a fun little internet Easter egg morphed into a revolutionary agent-first development platform that is quite literally changing how we write code. Let's get right into it.
Let's start at the very beginning. Where did the name Google Antigravity actually come from? For a cutting-edge IDE released in November 2025, it sounds pretty informal, right? Well, that's completely intentional. The name sets up this perfect metaphor of weightlessness. The platform's ultimate promise is to free programming from the heavy, crushing gravity of routine tasks, endless debugging, and boring boilerplate code.
Now, what's really interesting here is how two legendary internet Easter eggs intersect. On one side, you've got the famous 2009 Google Gravity web trick, where the homepage elements would literally just fall to the bottom of your screen. And on the other side, there's that classic Python Easter egg. You know, the one you type import antigravity and it opens an XKCD comic about a programmer who is just effortlessly floating in the air. Both of these references really hammer home the exact same idea. Programming should feel effortless.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the leap from Easter egg to revolution, break down exactly how Google Antigravity works, highlight the top benefits for developers, look at the negatives and risks, and finish up by exploring this completely new software era.
Section 1. From Easter egg to revolution.
Section 2. How Google Antigravity works.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The major difference between antigravity and your traditional IDE is the massive shift to an agent-first paradigm. Sure, you still have your classic editor view with a chatbot hanging out on the side, but the real game changer here is the agent manager, basically your mission control. Instead of just typing a prompt and waiting for an AI to reply, you can fire off multiple agents that work asynchronously. Picture this. You've got one agent updating dependencies, another one writing tests, and a third refactoring an old module, all at the exact same time across completely different workspaces.
But how can you actually trust these autonomous agents running wild in your codebase? Well, antigravity solves the trust gap with an ingenious mechanism based on artifacts. Before you even accept a single line of code, the agent literally has to prove its work. It generates implementation plans, detailed task lists, and code diffs. And it gets crazier. The agent can actually spin up a local server, open a built-in browser, and record a video or snap screenshots just to prove to you that the front end it wrote actually works.
Plus, you aren't locked into just one AI brain. The platform gives you incredible model optionality. Right inside the IDE, you have the freedom to seamlessly switch between Google's own Gemini 3.1 Pro, Anthropic's Claude 4.6, or even open-source models like GPT-os 120B. That is absolutely crucial, because it means you can just swap out the underlying intelligence depending on whatever your specific task requires.
Section 3. Top developer benefits. One of the absolute standout features here is the UI automation and visual testing. Because of that built-in browser agent we just talked about, the platform can literally click through your web interface, fill out forms, and visually test the front end all on its own. You no longer have to sit there manually checking every single button just because you tweaked the CSS. The agent handles the whole shebang and just hands you the results. It's an absolute powerhouse for UI development.
Next up is the onboarding process. The agent acts like the ultimate crash course for any project. You just load your code into the IDE, and the AI instantly scans the files, builds out a dependency map, explains the underlying logic in plain English, and even writes the documentation automatically. Developers are actually reporting that this cuts down the time it takes to get familiar with massive legacy code bases from several days to just a couple of hours.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the platform truly democratizes development. We are seeing a massive shift in your role. You're transitioning from a manual, hands-on coder to much more of a high-level software architect. You set the goals, and the AI handles the grunt work. Oh, and another huge plus? Users are raving about the incredibly generous usage limits for the Gemini 3 models, especially the Flash version. It basically lets you stay right in your flow state without constantly hitting paywalls or usage caps.
Section 4. Negatives and risks. Let's bring things back down to earth a bit.
So the most alarming risk developers are facing right now is something called agentic drift. When an AI is churning out thousands of lines of code, and all you're doing is clicking approve, you slowly lose the mental map of your own project. Think about it. If a critical system crashes in production 6 months down the line and you didn't actually write the code, you might not understand the logic well enough to fix it. That is a terrifying, severe form of technical debt. We also have to look objectively at the limitations of the native models. Based strictly on developer feedback,
Even with the incredible speed and massive context window of Gemini 3.1 Pro, the model often just spins its wheels when it comes to deep, complex server logic. It tends to offer pretty surface-level solutions. For those heavy-lifting back-end tasks, a lot of folks are finding they absolutely have to switch over to Claude 4.6, which frankly handles the deep logic a lot better.
Let's move on and see how this builds into some purely practical headaches. Sometimes, these agents get completely stuck in infinite error loops, trying to fix the exact same simple bug over and over again, while insisting it's ready. Then you've got platform instability, with users getting hit with server-busy errors. And worst of all, giving an autonomous agent full access to your terminal and browser opens up massive security risks, like prompt injection vulnerabilities, especially if the agent scans a malicious website or file.
Section 5. The New Software Era.
Even with all its current flaws handling complex logic and that very real risk of agentic drift, Google Antigravity permanently blurs the line between human-written and machine-written code. The sheer concept of orchestrating asynchronous agents and verifying everything through generated artifacts is an undeniable leap forward. It's literally changing the mechanics of the developer profession forever.
Which leaves us with a final provocative question. If you are no longer writing the code you actually ship, does your role evolve from that of a bricklayer to just being a project manager? The industry is going to have to figure that out in the coming years. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it gave you a clearer picture of exactly where software engineering is heading. Catch you next time.